I'd like to call to order the Housing Finance and Policy Committee. Today is March 31st. It is about 1:37. I apologize to the public and the people here for being late. A lot of committees and conference committees going on right now, so my apologies. Folks, we're going to continue on with Senate File 3994, our policy and finance bill for the year. You know, with that, we're gonna I'm gonna have a motion to pass 3994 and move to the Committee on Finance. Senator Rest.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to have some amendments, but that I've spoken to you about. I'm concerned we don't have a quorum.
I think Senator Rest, when we count the people online,
Oh, okay.
I think we're good, but let me just double check.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So I believe we do have a quorum, and Senator Rosen should be here when she's done presenting a bill.
Okay, thank you.
But we have Senator Deems and Senator Duckworth online. So I think we're good, but thank you for the question.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm so gotten used to very quickly everybody being here in person, so I was a bit concerned. Mr. Chairman, I'm going to move that we reconsider the action by which we adopted the delete everything amendment previous to this meeting. I've checked with Senate Counsel and Mr. Bodern the appropriate parts of Masons, and my motion is in order. Okay.
Yep, go ahead, Senator Rest.
Just wanted to make sure.
I'm listening. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, I know. I love this committee. Senator Draheim and colleagues, I really do. Senator Dietzig and Senator Porter and I really do appreciate how committed you are.
Thank you.
To housing, increasing home ownership opportunities, and making housing more accessible. You're certainly a champion of that. However, the scope and impact of the investment made in Governor Walz's proposal is what we believe Minnesota needs at this time. His bill is more comprehensive than the delete everything amendment that we currently have before us, and we think that it is important to review that. The governor's bill and proposal is balanced. It reflects the wide range of needs that we have heard from people and communities across the state. The housing needs run across the housing spectrum, not just home ownership, but also renters and also across income. As you know all too well, the housing shortage is having an impact on everyone, from those who are wanting to buy their first home to seniors wanting to downsize and sell their home, but have little opportunities or choices on where to move, and especially those seniors that are low-income renters. The housing units shortage has been around for a while. It's not news to any of us. The size and 3-year structure of the governor's proposal signals that we are all in and allows developers and communities to plan. The governor's proposal tackles the homeownership disparity gap, helps those cost-burdened renters, and helps move people from homelessness into stable housing. In particular, some of the features of the governor's bill: community stabilization, $100 million for that, resources that would be used to acquire, rehabilitate and preserve existing rental and homeownership housing so that it remains affordable for current and future households. With the investment that he proposes, an estimated 2,850 homes would be preserved. Also, Homework starts with Home, which calls for $10 million per year in his bill. That funding would provide rent and other housing assistance to families with or expecting children that lack housing stability. The funding would provide housing assistance for an estimated 1,425 families each year. In addition, supportive housing, which is $12 million in fiscal year 23, 30 in the next biennium. Certain costs, such as front desk and security costs, are needed for permanent supportive housing developments to operate effectively. However, many do not have a reliable or coordinated source of funding. This particular program creates upfront and ongoing challenges to building and maintaining this critical type of housing. The funding may be used to create partnerships with the healthcare sector to demonstrate more sustainable ways to provide services for supportive housing residents, improving access to health care, and reducing the use of expensive emergency and institutional care. And then lastly, as a key element, the governor's bill provides down payment assistance, $12 million in fiscal year 23 and 20 in the next biennium. There are an estimated 179,000 renter households between the ages of 25 and 44 who are potentially income ready to buy a home. With home prices, however, increasing significantly in recent years and interest rates on the rise, inflation, which is unrelenting, if you've been following the economic gurus on the interest rates, which not only affect commodities, but certainly mortgage rates, and indeed the prices on rentals, for renters too. But for homeowners, the need for additional down payment and closing cost assistance is critical to address the wealth that's needed to become a first home-time buyer. We're not talking about great wealth, we're talking about enough wealth. The recommendation from the governor would help an estimated 2,667 households become first-time home buyers. So, Mr. Chairman, those are some of the highlights in the governor's bill that we respectfully offer in the context of asking for the DE amendment to be reconsidered. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Rest. And, you know, I know you've been in my shoes before and been around a little longer than I have here in the Senate. You know, I think when we put this bill together, we had a framework we had to work within, a target. And, you know, I lobbied from the beginning of the year for housing to be a key component for us this year. But we have to live within, I have to live within the guidelines I was given. You know, so I'm gonna have to oppose this, I don't know if it's an amendment or what technically, it's a motion,
It's a
okay, thank you.
motion to reconsider the vote by which the DE amendment was adopted.
Thank you. Well, I'm gonna have to oppose this motion. But when we put this together, we looked at, you know, what we thought was right now in this space and time, what we needed to do. And we also looked at what assets have come in from the federal government and some of the money and how it was spent, and try to put together the best package we could. You know, next year is a budget year, and I know we'll revisit all the programs you mentioned, and there are some good programs there. So with that, I urge a no vote respectfully on this motion. So any other comments on Senator Rest's motion? So if I could get the senators that are online to turn on your cameras and your microphones. Waiting for Senator Dames there. Yeah. All in favor of Senator Rest's motion, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. No.
No.
On a tie, your motion fails. But thank you.
Thank you
Yep.
thank you so much for your courtesy. You know, we really do mean it.
Thank you, Senator Rest. Members, I do have an amendment, and I believe all members have that. I believe it's the A7 amendment. So if it's okay, I would like to adopt this to get the Senate File 3994 in a shape I would like it. And this came from testimony and some suggestions and some little technical fix there too from the previous hearing. So do we have any comments or questions in regards to the A7?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask counsel to explain it since it's a page in mine?
Sure, thank you. Senator Rest has asked counsel to explain it.
Sure,
Mr. Steen?
Mr. Chairman and members. Does several things. It responds to several comments made by, I believe it was Mr. Bruner in the last hearing. It adds eviction proceedings under 327C. The bill has a section that restricts the governor from prohibiting eviction proceedings for more than 30 days without coming back to the legislature. And it just referenced 340A. This adds 327C as well to that, which is evictions of under manufactured home code.
Okay.
The second 1.4, 1.5 is just adding the housing committee to a already existing report from the workforce housing program, or with respect to the workforce housing program. 1.7 to 1.11 deals with the program we asked the agency to set up in terms of down payment assistance for manufactured homes, and would technically allow private homes and private parks to be allowed under the program if federal law allows that. And then the last is a merely technical correction to an effective date.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Senator Rest.
So with regard to what looks like a more substantive part of this, paragraph C, 1.7 to 1.11, to your knowledge, Mr. Chairman, are there any interested parties that oppose that?
Senator Rest, I have not heard from anybody, but I am, like you know, I'm willing to work with all parties as this bill moves forward and as we go to finance.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And if I could add to that too, on the 1.3, you know, that is something I had in our bill last year too. I feel that, you know, the legislative body, all 201 elected officials should have a say if it's a more longer term eviction moratorium. I want to be part of the solution. I think you guys do too. So that is why, and it's crafted very narrow to deal with just the housing aspects.
Mr. Chairman, I would support the amendment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments, questions on the A7? So all in favor of the A7, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Amendment's adopted. I will now ask if there are any other Amendments? Any other amendments? Oh. Senator Dietz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have the A9 amendment.
E9. Can we get a copy of
I
that
have some
E9?
copies here. Do you want me to start talking about it?
Yeah, Senator Dietz, if you wouldn't mind for our online guests to
Yep.
describe your E9 amendment.
Yep. So we've heard in this committee numerous times that we have a housing unit shortage. That unit shortage is also impacting renters. Many are having a hard time finding stable, safe place to live that they can afford. And actually, if we want homeowners to eventually be, if we want renters to eventually be homeowners, we need to make sure that they have a stable place to live so that they can maybe start saving some money. So this amendment is actually Senate File 333. Many of you have heard about it. It's sometimes referred to as the Bring It Home bill. Advocates may have talked to some of you about it. We have over 220 families who make less than 50% of the area median income, and they're having a hard time paying their rent. They are cost burden, which means they pay more than 30% of their income towards rent. Some of them are actually paying more than 50% of their income towards rent. Homeline, which is an organization that provides legal and educational advice to renters, has talked about the increase in calls with concerns about paying that rent since the eviction moratorium ended. Rents are increasing, and they're not keeping up, even though some wages are going up, they're not keeping up with wages. So, evictions are going up. The rental assistance went away, but the need for the rental assistance didn't go away. And helping these renters and helping renters actually improves costs going forward. The studies have shown that if you have stable housing, it actually helps with education outcomes because kids are in a stable place and it helps them learn more now, and then it helps that retain that knowledge going into the future. And then stable housing actually also helps health outcomes, because if people are able to live in a stable place, they can just recover better and get better. So I appreciate, again, I will reiterate what Senator Russ said. We appreciate all that this committee has done to focus on improving access to home ownership and that disparity gap, which we really need to do. I fully support that. But I also think that we just can't, we have this wide range we have to do with, and we can't ignore renters. And so as we continue to move forward, I look forward to working with you to figure out how we can make sure that renters have a stable place to live. And some of them, especially those that are extremely cost burdened, are able to stay in their home and succeed and hopefully get the American dream and buy a home eventually. So I appreciate you allowing me to talk about this. I know you have been on Zoom meetings with the advocates. I think this is a good concept that we should continue to have that conversation. But with that, I will withdraw the amendment.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Dietz. If we could just, for a minute, is this the same one that Representative Howard has in the House?
Yeah, I have it here.
The same type, okay. And I think the fiscal note on it's like $1 billion
Yeah.
plus?
It was a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's why I said if we go forward, I think that there is availability to significantly scale it down.
Yeah, and I just wanted to make sure everybody understood the fiscal cost to this program. But I think it does highlight the need to really review what we're doing now. And most of that isn't in this committee. But there needs to be a deep dive on this subject matter, because we do spend a lot of resources on it. And if it isn't working, let's look at it and see what we can do to modify it. But go ahead.
I was going to say, and I agree, Mr. Chair, and I also agree it would be really helpful if the federal government would honor their commitment and also help with housing.
That's funny.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's funny. So Senator Dietz withdraws her A9 amendment. Members, any other amendments? Yeah, Senator Dietz.
Thank you. I have another amendment. I have the A8 amendment.
A8, can we get the A8 passed out, please?
Should I
Senator
continue
Dietrich, do
talking
you want
about?
to talk about your A8 amendment?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. So this amendment removes some of the section that we have some concerns about. This shouldn't be a surprise to anybody here. It deletes section 1 on page 5, which is the governor's powers. I know we've had that discussion many times. I understand the desire to have, I think the, legislature to being part of it would be helpful, but I also think sometimes we don't work as quickly as needed. And so just think that we should have that discussion going forward and look at what is that best time frame? Is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? Because the moratorium eviction, while it wasn't perfect at all, it did save lives. So have concerns about that. So it removes that. Then on page 18, it deletes section 29, which is the rent control prohibition. On page 26, it deletes section 4, which is the report on rent control. And then page 27, deletes section 5, which is the repealer on the rent control. And I know we've had a big discussion on this. I have told people before, rent control, my knowledge of rent control is from friends. And so I want to, my city voted on it, Minneapolis voted to still discuss the situation because we do have, as the previous amendment showed, we have so many, especially lower income people that can't afford the rent. The wages just have not kept up with the cost of housing. They haven't been able to keep up. And so those are people living among us that if we want them to be able to go to work and be productive and be good workers, they need a place to live. And so my city is looking at what can we do to help stabilize rent? What can we do to help people? The city of St. Paul voted for a very stringent, I think it's one of the most stringent in the nation, but the people spoke. They voted. Lots of times we don't agree with elections, but in a democracy, it's an election, and then that's what happens. And so I don't think it's up to us to overturn what a, democracy decided and the people in St. Paul spoke, and we should accept their vote. So that's what this amendment does.
Thank you, Senator Dietrich. Any comments on the A8 amendment? I am not seeing any, I appreciate the amendment, but I'm going to have to oppose the amendment. And I don't think we need to explain that. We've had discussion on both issues over the last 2 years and a lot of great dialogue, but as this bill moves forward, I would like to keep these sections in the bill. So members, we are going to vote on the A8 amendment. So all in favor of the A8, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? No? Nay. Senator Deems, did you want to vote?
Aye.
Oh, good. We win.
Senator Draheim,
Yes.
hang on 1 minute. Hang on 1 minute,
Yep.
Senator Draheim.
He's working on reinsurance.
Senator Draheim, I'm going to ask, I'm sorry, I'm working on something else right here. I'm going to have to ask to have that vote reconsidered.
Okay,
It doesn't have to.
we will,
We never really.
He can just change his
You can just
vote.
say no.
yeah. So we're gonna re-vote Senator Deems. We'll start over. All in favor of the A8 amendment, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Nay.
Nay.
Thank you. 3-2, the motion fails. So thank you, Senator Dietrich, for your 2 amendments, and Senator Rest. Members, do we have any other amendments? Comments, so we'll go to comments. Senator Dietrich.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mr. Chair, and I look forward to continuing to work with you on this because I think we all on this committee share the passion that we want people to have stable housing. We want our communities to succeed, and for them to succeed, we need good housing, and we need good housing stock, and we clearly need more housing. So, I appreciate working with you and working on this committee. I think all 3 of us have completely enjoyed it. We don't always agree, but we have civil conversations and we have thoughtful, detailed conversations, and that's just been a lot of fun and very rewarding. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dietzig. And I would ditto that comment. I've enjoyed this committee also, so. Any other comments, members? Okay, we are gonna take a vote to pass Senate File 3994 as amended and send it off to Finance. So, all in favor of the amended Senate File 3994, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No? 3994 passed and it is on its way to Finance. Thank you, members. And with that, we are adjourned for the day. Thank you.